Hello, this is an assessment of a Bluthner upright piano made in 1891, about 130 centimetres tall. And we've been asked to dispose of it. The client's now got a night piano, and this piano is a very high quality instrument. It's a shame just to dispose of it literally, but it does have lots of issues, and we want to look at those. And if you're interested in the piano, please let us know if you've got a similar piano that you feel you'd like to have restored. But I'm just focusing in here on these casters that are put on for easy moving around. These are often referred to as safety casters. They jut out at the back, as you can see. While we're on the back of the piano, it has got some woodworm. I think only in this bottom panel, and that so only in this the bottom of the piano, and that can be treated. And I don't see any live woodworm at all, but obviously it's something we would do. The casework certainly is really quite the worst for wear, and as you can see, this is one side of the piano and other parts of the piano, but high quality casework generally, so it could really be made into a wonderful piano if it was repolished. Now you can see the right hand pedal is shiny at the end. We've mentioned this before. That means they're too high, and that's because of these extra safety casters. Now they should come down by about 3-4 millimeters, and that would take it from 8 millimeters, which it is, to 4 or 5, which would be really very comfortable. I think the legroom is about 68 centimeters. That's the room, that's the space between here and the floor. So even if you're very tall, if we took it down by 4 centimeters, it would still be a couple more than the average modern piano. You can see, if you look at the behind the keys here, you can see that there's, if we can look at it, sorry I didn't focus it very well, but there's some bits missing, and that's a clear sign of moth if you've got bits missing in the felt behind the keys, and the keys are not even either, so moth has been eating underneath the keys. On these older Bluthner pianos, you sometimes get this little catch here to hold that up so it doesn't fall down when you close it, and then hit the keys. So that's rather sweet, that. And with a lot of the older top quality pianos, they've got 2 music stands. This one isn't the original one, but that swings in there and hides away. And like most of these older Bluthner upright pianos, and certainly until 1900, I think they were practically all like this. I'm not sure the exact date when they were underdamper pianos, but this is an overdamper piano. In other words, the dampers are above the hammer, so you can clearly recognise from the top this piece of wood here shows you that it's an overdamper piano. And that does mean that the damping is not as good as it is on an underdamper. Here's an underdamper Welmar, like all modern pianos really, and pianos, Bluthners later on did underdampers as well. But here we are, you can hear this damping's not perfect either, and this piano's got issues with restoring it for a client. And you can see that the dampers are underneath, and they cut off quite quickly, and especially up here, if we listen to the dampers up here, this is what they've got, loose tuning pins. That's why it sounds out of tune. You can see the damping's pretty immediate, and on the overdamper it's not immediate at all. In other words, the damper's too near the top of the string. We've made videos on this before, and therefore it doesn't dampen off very well. But as you go down, you hear the damping is quite respectable, and Bluthners were one of the makes that carried on making overdampers, while a lot of other firms like Steinway never made overdampers, for instance, and Bechstein neither. So you get overdampings, which they carried on doing right through 1900 and after that as well. And then they did underdampers too. So not quite sure all the reasons why they carried doing overdampers, but Bluthner were different. They also had a different mechanism on the grands. They're quite unique. Now, if we look here, you can see that there is some moth damage on the hammers. That's clear moth damage when you get the little white bits. So we showed the moth damage on the felt behind the nameboard felt behind the keys. But here you can see lots of moth damage on hammers. Now, they haven't actually affected the tone of the hammers, but they have eaten felts underneath the keys as well, and that definitely is not good news. Now, I've taken off the nameboard. You can clearly see bits of the nameboard felt missing. The moths always enjoy eating that, so that's a clear indicator. If you wonder if you've got moth in your piano, have a look at the nameboard felt behind the keys. I've taken some of the keys out and you can see clearly the moth has been eating this centre rail felt here. So that obviously needs replacing, and that's why the keys are uneven, because when these are eaten, obviously the key goes down on the ones that have been eaten, but they're pretty much disintegrated, as you can see, so they would definitely need replacing. Interestingly, on this piano, and I don't think I've shown this before, but you see this rail here, that's the keys, instead of having felts under here, because normally you've got felts under the keys here. Here's the Welmer upright that we're assessing for a client. You can see the felts underneath the keys. These are front rail washers, felt washers, and then you also have card washers to get them more accurate. And there's the centre rail. Obviously there's no moth in this one. And this is a standard back rail. You notice there's nothing above here. If we have a look at the Bluthner again. So looking at the Bluthner again, there's no front rail washers at all here. It relies totally on this back rail here, and the keys, they stop. If we push a key down, I'm going to take one more of these out because I want to show you that if you push this down, you can actually feel it's kind of like gives a bit. So what we do, and I think most restorers do, is actually add some front rail washers, and this could be disabled at the back here, but a lot of firms, a lot of German firms particularly, went in for this back rail idea of stopping where the key stops. But I think you can get more accurate measurements if you put, well, all manufacturers nowadays put front rail washers in. They don't use this system at all. Now looking at the back of this Bluthner action, you can see some of the dampers they've got a bit damp here. Sorry, the dampers have got damp, yeah, that's what's happened. Any fluffing up or even changing. But if you change these over dampers, they have to be different type of felt from what you would use normally. If you change over dampers, you do it at your peril, really. It's a difficult job from our experience. But we try and repair these as much as possible. And if you're used to changing over dampers, by the way, please let me know. But it's not something I don't think is very commonly done in the trade. I want to look at the hammers because they're incredibly worn. You often get this, they're absolutely flat here, so they're very soft. Bluthner's tone is a soft tone anyway, but it makes it even softer. Not very clear because the hammer, it's not hitting the string very cleanly. Too much hammers hitting the string, and that's the case with all of them. So it's been used a lot. It's so typical. Even Bluthner Grands, we often find they're extremely worn, and that's because people love the pianos, love the tone. It's so exquisite, really, and they don't change the hammers, and then they just get mellower and mellower and mellower, and don't produce a very distinct sound. These are original Bluthner strings, and with the typical Bluthner coning that we've mentioned before, and some of them are missing, unfortunately. There's one bass one, though it is actually in the bottom of the piano. They did keep it in the bottom of the piano. There's a slight chance we could splice it because it's a high up string here. In fact, there's probably a 50% chance a splice would work. Again, this shows it's a really difficult piano for us to make any profit on if we were to try to restore it. And in fact, it's something we can't really do, but we'd be interested in doing it for you if you're a client watching this and interested in the piano. There's another one missing there. There's another one missing here. These are treble strings, and the treble strings, there's about 3 or 4 in the top treble as well. You can see some gaps. And unfortunately, on Bluthners, they're individually strung. So on a majority of pianos and majority of upright pianos, they go down here and back up on the same pin. So the string will use two strings, or two tuning pins, whatever you call. One string goes right down there, goes back round the pin and back up again. So you can reuse the same one rather than having to replace it. On this case though, in the case of this one, you can't because they're individually strung. While we got the piano apart, you can see Bluthner put their prizes, displaying their prizes on the soundboard as well, which you'd only see if you were a technician, really. So that's an extremely high quality Bluthner upright piano, 1891, and there's quite a lot of work that he's doing to it. Moth and woodworm treatment, replacing the hammers definitely, or recovering probably is what we would do. Replacing felts as necessary, the ones that have been eaten by moth, replacing the missing strings, or restring the whole piano. I won't debate that at the moment, but if you've got comments, please put them underneath. Or regulate, and casters are too high, so definitely reduce those. And the weighting of the keys is quite good, really. But of course, when we change the hammers, the weighting will change as well. So I might need to reweight the touch. So that's a Bluthner upright piano made in 1891, and such a finely made instrument. But overdamper, well, Steinway and Bechstein and Bosendorff were making underdamper pianos. So Bluthner carried on making overdamper pianos for a long time, as they did in fact with the grand piano with patent action. So they were always a little bit different and beautifully made. The client has asked us to take the piano away, to dispose of it. And why am I making this video at all? I think it's because we don't like disposing of such a high quality piano. So if you'd like to comment, please do comment underneath. There's plenty of work to do on the piano, as I've shown you, but it's all doable. It can be restored to a very high quality. So thank you very much for listening. Please let us know your thoughts. It's been tuned regularly and is at concert pitch and used regularly up until now, and now that client has got a night piano in its place, so that's why they want this piano disposed of. Thank you very much for listening. Please write to info@robertspianos.com if you're interested in the piano, would like to make some comments about it, or have got a piano that needs restoring.